Did you know that many of the scientific foundations we rely on today, like algebra, surgery, and even the scientific method, were shaped over 1,000 years ago by brilliant Muslim minds? During the Islamic Golden Age, from the 8th to the 14th century, a wave of innovation swept across the Muslim world. Scholars, scientists, and thinkers translated ancient knowledge, made groundbreaking discoveries, and forever changed the course of human history. In this video, we'll explore 10 of the most influential Muslim scientists from this golden era, visionaries whose work still echoes through modern science and medicine. Let's dive in. Number 1. Ibn Sina, Avicenna. Meet Ibn Sina, also known as Avicenna, a towering figure in the world of medicine and philosophy. Born in the 10th century in what is now Uzbekistan, he was a child prodigy who mastered logic, astronomy, and medicine by his teens. His most famous work, the Canon of Medicine, was a medical encyclopedia used for over 600 years in Europe and the Islamic world. Ibn Sina emphasized clinical observation and holistic healing, paving the way for modern medical ethics and diagnosis. Beyond medicine, he made substantial contributions to metaphysics, psychology, and even pharmacology. In many ways, he was the prototype of the modern physician-scientist. Beyond medicine, Ibn Sina's influence spanned theology, astronomy, and metaphysics. He authored over 450 works, with around 240 surviving, covering everything from logic to music. His philosophy blended Aristotelian logic with Islamic principles, and his Book of Healing was a monumental philosophical encyclopedia. In psychology, he described conditions like insomnia, hallucinations, and lovesickness in surprising detail. He also argued for the immateriality of the soul, influencing both Islamic and European scholastic thought. His methods emphasized diagnosis through observation and a holistic approach to health, integrating body, mind, and spirit, making him a polymath far ahead of his time. I hope you are being edified by this video. Please like the video if you have not done so already, it really helps. Number 2. Al-Khwarizmi. If you've ever used algebra or followed an algorithm, thank Al-Khwarizmi. This 9th century Persian mathematician worked at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, where he wrote the compendious book on calculation by completion and balancing, the foundation of algebra. The word algebra itself comes from al-Jabr, a term he coined. His work introduced systematic methods for solving equations and was later translated into Latin, revolutionizing European mathematics. He also helped refine Hindu-Arabic numerals and developed astronomical tables. Today, the term algorithm, the engine behind computer science, is named after him. Al-Khwarizmi didn't just revolutionize algebra, he systematized it. His treatise presented a logical, step-by-step approach to solving linear and quadratic equations using words rather than symbols. This accessible style made it widely usable in trade, inheritance laws, and land distribution. He also made major contributions to trigonometry and introduced sine, cosine, and tangent to Islamic scholars. In astronomy, he refined Ptolemaic models and created accurate star charts and calendars. His work in geography included a revised world map and tables of latitude and longitude. Al-Khwarizmi's legacy is foundational in both the Islamic world and the development of Western science. Number 3. Bakr al-Razi. Al-Razi, or Rhazes, was a 9th century Persian polymath and a pioneer in both medicine and chemistry. Known for his sharp clinical eye, he was the first to differentiate between smallpox and measles, no small feat in his day. His book Al-Hayyan was a massive medical encyclopedia that combined knowledge from the Greeks, Indians, and his own insights. He was also a chemist who worked with distillation and invented several chemical instruments. Al-Razi was a philosopher of science, stressing the importance of evidence-based diagnosis and patient care. He believed physicians should be both scientifically precise and ethically grounded. Al-Razi wrote extensively, over 200 books and treatises. His Kitab al-Mansuri and Kitab al-Hawi became medical standards. He introduced the use of alcohol in medicine and pioneered treatments for kidney stones, migraines, and mental health disorders. In chemistry, he classified substances into animal, vegetable, and mineral, anticipating later chemical taxonomy. He was also a philosopher who questioned dogma and emphasized reason and logic. He criticized blind adherence to tradition and urged open inquiry, even in religion. Al-Razi's hospitals were among the first to incorporate wards, pharmacies, and records, forming the model for modern medical institutions. Number 4. Ibn al-Haytham. Now let's shine a light, literally, on Ibn al-Haytham. Known as Al-Hazan in the West, he was a pioneer of optics and the scientific method. In his Book of Optics, written in the 11th century, he proved that vision occurs when light reflects off objects and enters the eye, not the other way around as previously believed. He conducted controlled experiments, laid down principles of empirical testing, and even described inertia centuries before Newton. His method of observation, hypothesis, and experimentation laid the groundwork for modern science. In many ways, he was the first true physicist. Ibn al-Haytham's approach to science was revolutionary. He insisted that theories must be tested through observation and experimentation, a core tenet of the modern scientific method. He accurately described the anatomy of the eye and how light reflects and refracts, debunking centuries-old theories from Ptolemy and Galen. His experiments with lenses and mirrors helped shape the field of optics, and his writings influenced European scientists like Kepler and Newton. He also explored mechanics, astronomy, and mathematics, offering early thoughts on inertia and motion. His insistence on empirical evidence laid the foundation for objective science as we know it today. Number 5. Jabir ibn Hayyan Geber. Step into the lab of Jabir ibn Hayyan, often called the father of chemistry. Living in the 8th century, he transformed alchemy into a science based on experimentation. His works describe distillation, crystallization, and sublimation, processes still used today. He isolated acids like nitric and sulfuric acid and developed instruments such as the alembic. Jabir's theoretical writings explored the balance of elements and properties, which influenced European chemistry for centuries. His legacy isn't just in what he discovered, but in how he taught generations to experiment and observe carefully. Jabir ibn Hayyan is credited with writing over 3,000 works, many of which survive in Latin translations. He emphasized experimental practice, turning mystical alchemy into a more systematic science. He introduced the concept of chemical compounds, described crystallization, calcination, and evaporation, and developed apparatus like the retort and alembic, still used in chemistry labs today. Jabir believed in the balance of natural elements, which foreshadowed the periodic classification of substances. His texts combined philosophy, science, and spirituality, common in the era, but his methodical processes set a new standard for scientific rigor. He helped transform natural philosophy into practical science. Number 6. Al-Zahrawi. Ever had surgery? Then you owe something to Al-Zahrawi, the 10th century Andalusian surgeon who wrote Al-Tasrif, a 30-volume encyclopedia of medical practice. He was the first to describe surgical procedures in detail and illustrated over 200 surgical instruments, many of which he designed himself. He developed techniques for cauterization, bone setting, and even cosmetic surgery. His work became standard reading in European medical schools for centuries. More than just a surgeon, Al-Zahrawi was an educator who believed in the careful training of physicians and surgeons alike. Al-Zahrawi's influence extended far beyond surgery. His encyclopedia, Al-Tasrif, covered obstetrics, orthopedics, ophthalmology, and pharmacology. He described over 200 surgical instruments, many of which he designed himself, including forceps, scalpels, and the catheter. He was the first to use catgut for internal stitches, a practice that remained in use for centuries. Al-Zahrawi also pioneered the use of cauterization to stop bleeding and treat wounds. He was meticulous in documenting case studies, advocating ethical care and patient consent. His work was a cornerstone in both Islamic and European surgical practice and remained influential well into the 16th century. Number 7. Al-Biruni. Meet Al-Biruni, a man of numbers, stars, and cultures. Al-Biruni was born in Khwarizm during the 11th century. He was fluent in Persian, Arabic, Greek, and Sanskrit. He measured the Earth's radius and studied gravity. He measured the Earth's radius with astonishing accuracy and studied gravity centuries before Newton. He also explored time zones, geodesy, and planetary motion. His comparative studies of Hindu and Islamic sciences were incredibly respectful and ahead of their time. Al-Biruni believed that science should be free from bias and cultural ego, a universal pursuit for truth. Number 8. Nasir al-Din al-Tusi. Nasir al-Din al-Tusi was a 13th century Persian scholar who revolutionized astronomy and ethics. He built the Maraga Observatory, one of the largest of its time, and improved on Ptolemaic astronomy with what's now called the Tusi couple, a geometric model that later influenced Copernicus. But his brilliance didn't stop at the stars. He wrote about ethics, logic, and theology, blending reason with spirituality. Tusi emphasized the importance of harmony between science and religion, and his mathematical models bridged classical astronomy with the Renaissance. Al-Tusi was a master of both science and philosophy. His work at the Maraga Observatory introduced sophisticated instruments and star catalogues that were later used in Europe. He refined the Ptolemaic model with mathematical tools like the Tusi couple, which demonstrated linear motion from circular motion, something that directly influenced Copernicus. His writings on ethics and metaphysics blended Islamic theology with Greek philosophy. In mathematics, he developed trigonometry as an independent discipline, distinguishing it from astronomy. Al-Tusi also worked on logic, making him one of the most comprehensive thinkers of the Islamic Golden Age, respected by scholars from many traditions. Number 9. Ibn al-Nafis. Let's turn to Ibn al-Nafis, the 13th century Syrian physician, who discovered the pulmonary circulation of blood 300 years before William Harvey. While studying the works of Galen and Avicenna, he realized that blood must pass through the lungs to be oxygenated before reaching the heart. This discovery revolutionized physiology. He also wrote about the heart's chambers, the role of arteries and veins, and was meticulous in challenging established views. Ibn al-Nafis was not only a physician, but also a bold thinker who proved that scientific knowledge evolves through questioning. Number 10. Al-Farabi. And finally, Al-Farabi, the second teacher after Aristotle. Living in the 9th and 10th centuries, he was a philosopher, logician, and musician. His most famous work, The Virtuous City, imagined a society led by wisdom and ethics. He introduced Greek logic to the Islamic world, influenced later thinkers like Avicenna and Maimonides, and even classified sciences in a systematic way. Al-Farabi also made original contributions to music theory, linking musical modes to emotional states. His vision of blending reason, morality, and political philosophy was centuries ahead of its time. Al-Farabi was not only a philosopher, but a cultural bridge between ancient Greece and the Islamic world. He preserved and interpreted Aristotle's works, making them accessible and influential in both Islamic and Christian scholastic traditions. His Virtuous City presented an ideal society governed by reason and ethical leadership, much like Plato's Republic. Al-Farabi also classified the sciences and described the links between logic, mathematics, and music. His music theory explored how sound affects the soul and can be used to influence human emotion, a precursor to music therapy. He was a profound thinker who linked knowledge, ethics, and governance. Thanks so much for watching till the end. I really appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. I'll be diving deeper into the life and work of each influential Muslim scientist mentioned in this video, with a separate video dedicated to each one. So if you want to learn more, make sure to click the playlist on your screen now and start exploring their incredible contributions.